Nashville has always traded in two currencies, music and mythology. The women who built country music into the billion-dollar force it is today didn't just sell records, they sold stories, and the gossip machinery surrounding their names ran just as hard as the radio airplay ever did. Whether it was whispered backstage at the Grand Ole Opry or printed in tabloids picked up at every truck stop from Texas to Tennessee, the rumors about these women's love lives took on a life entirely their own. Some of those rumors were rooted in documented scandal, others born purely from proximity and imagination, but all of them attach themselves to voices too powerful to ignore. Today we're counting down 11 country music divas whose personal lives became as legendary as their songs, starting at number 11. Jessi Coulter, born Miriam Johnson on May 25, 1943 in Phoenix, Arizona, carved herself a permanent place in the outlaw country movement of the 1970s, a world almost entirely run by men. Her marriage to Waylon Jennings made them one of the most recognized power couples in country music history, and her solo hit I'm Not Lisa reached number 1 on the country charts and crossed to the pop charts in 1975. Her appearance on Wanted the Outlaws alongside Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Tom Paul Glaser helped make it the first country album ever certified platinum. The outlaw community ran on heavy touring and heavier partying, and Jessi's constant presence within that circle kept the rumor mill turning. Names like Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson surfaced in whispers tied to nothing more than close friendship and shared stages. But in that world, proximity alone was enough for the press to build a story. None of it was ever confirmed, yet the speculation followed her throughout her career, painting her as a bold woman who moved through a male-dominated genre entirely on her own terms. Wanda Jackson stepped onto the stage in the 1950s as one of the first women to earn real recognition in both rockabilly and country music. Born October 20th, 1937 in Maud, Oklahoma, she toured alongside Elvis Presley early in her career, and Presley personally encouraged her to push boundaries musically, which she did with songs like Let's Have a Party and Fujiyama Mama. That romance with Elvis placed her at the center of speculation that never fully faded, and touring circuits being what they were, rumors connecting her to other entertainers from the country, and rockabilly scenes followed her from city to city for years. She married Wendell Goodman in 1961, a union that lasted until his passing in 2017, with Goodman also serving as her manager and keeping her career grounded through the decades. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction arrived in 2009, and her transition to gospel music in the 1970s after becoming a born-again Christian reshaped her public image without fully quieting the stories that had accumulated around her name over the previous 2 decades. Crystal Gayle, born January 9, 1951, in Paintsville, Kentucky, spent much of her career fighting comparisons to her older sister Loretta Lynn and winning that battle on her own terms. Her smoother, pop-leaning sound separated her from the traditional country of her era, and Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue turned her into a crossover phenomenon in the late 1970s, earning a Grammy Award and launching a string of #1 hits including Talking in Your Sleep and Half the Way. She married Bill Gatzimos in 1971, and that marriage stands as one of the most stable unions in all of country music history. Her floor-length hair became a trademark that magazines could not stop discussing, and her glamorous image kept tabloids hunting for scandal in a life that offered very little of it. Frequent collaborations with male country stars and her connection to Loretta Lynn kept gossip writers returning to her name, linking her to various Nashville figures that she never publicly acknowledged or addressed. LeAnn Rimes hit the country music world at 13 years old, and the pressure of that kind of early fame bent the trajectory of her personal life in ways that played out entirely in public. Born August 28, 1982 in Jackson, Mississippi and raised in Texas, her 1996 debut album Blue drew immediate comparisons to Patsy Cline and made her one of the youngest Grammy Award winners in history. She married backup dancer Dean Sherritt in 2002 at just 19 years old, and that marriage collapsed in 2010 following her affair with actor Eddie Cibrian, who was still married to Brandi Glanville at the time, making it one of the most discussed scandals in both country music and Hollywood that year. Her choice to publicly embrace the relationship with Cibrian, whom she went on to marry in 2011, deepened the tabloid coverage rather than ending it. The reality series she and Cibrian produced together kept her personal life visible long after the initial headlines faded, cementing her position as one of the most rumored-about women in the entertainment industry. Faith Hill carries the kind of personal history that tabloids refuse to let age. Born September 21, 1967 in Ridgeland, Mississippi, and raised in a religious working-class household, she first married Daniel Hill in 1988 before that marriage ended in divorce in 1994. 2 years after that split, she married Tim McGraw, and together they became country music's most celebrated couple, with their Soul to Soul tours ranking among the highest grossing in country music history. Breathe and The Way You Love Me built her into a crossover pop force, and multiple Grammy and CMA awards confirmed her place among the all-time best-selling female artists in the genre. The story that tabloids refused to drop held that she left her then-fiancé, record executive Scott Hendricks, for McGraw during a shared tour, and decades of infidelity rumors and fabricated separation stories followed them both. Hill and McGraw denied every claim consistently, but her combination of fame and visibility guaranteed that the press manufactured new chapters whenever the old ones lost momentum. Shania Twain didn't just dominate country music in the 1990s, she rewrote what a woman could accomplish inside it. Born August 28, 1965, in Windsor, Ontario, she lost her parents in a car accident in 1987 and shouldered responsibilities most people never face at any age, and that early resilience fueled a career that produced Come On Over, which sold over 40 million copies worldwide and became the best-selling country album of all time. Man, I Feel Like a Woman, that don't impress me much. And You're Still the One drove that album to a global audience far beyond any country audience, and Grammy Awards, World Music Awards, and CMA Awards followed steadily. Her marriage to producer Robert John Lang ended in 2010 after his affair with her best friend Marie-Anne Thiebaud, and in a development that generated its own sustained media cycle, Shania married Marie-Anne's ex-husband Frederick Thiebaud in 2011. That sequence created more column inches than most of her chart positions combined, and tabloids used the fallout as an entry point to build a much larger narrative around her romantic life, connecting her name to various men in the music industry without evidence. Reba McEntire earned the title Queen of Country through relentless work that started in the late 1970s and never stopped. Born March 28, 1955 in Chalky, Oklahoma, into a ranching family steeped in rodeo culture, she eventually produced more than 30 studio albums, sold over 75 million records worldwide, and maintained chart relevance across multiple generations of country audiences. Her first marriage to steer wrestling champion Charlie Battles ended in divorce in 1987, and she then married her manager Narvel Blackstock in 1989, a union that held for 26 years before ending publicly in 2015. The sitcom Reba, a successful Broadway run in Annie Get Your Gun, and multiple clothing and home product lines pushed her profile well beyond music and kept her under permanent public watch. Following the Blackstock divorce, tabloids connected her name to several men both inside and outside entertainment, and her beauty combined with her decades-long visibility made romantic speculation a fixture around her regardless of what she actually confirmed. Loretta Lynn lived a life that would have collapsed most people before it had barely begun. Born April 14, 1932, in Butcher Hollow, Kentucky, she married Oliver Vanetta Lynn in January 1948 at 15 years old, and that marriage endured until his death in 1996, producing 6 children through decades shaped by his infidelity and drinking. Coal Miner's Daughter, Don't Come Home A-Drinkin', and You Ain't Woman Enough to Take My Man built her into one of country music's most important voices, and Country Music Hall of Fame induction in 1988 was followed by the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2013. The Pill, her openly controversial song about birth control, got banned from many radio stations and handed tabloids a permanent angle on her character and values. Speculation about a romantic connection with longtime collaborator Conway Twitty surfaced again and again across her career, and both denied it every time it appeared, but the closeness of their professional bond kept gossip writers supplied indefinitely. Tammy Wynette, known to most as the First Lady of Country Music, accumulated 5 marriages, a Country Music Hall of Fame induction in 1998, and a catalog of songs that defined female emotional expression in the genre for an entire generation. Born May 5, 1942, in Itawamba County, Mississippi, her most famous marriage ran from 1969 to 1975 with George Jones, producing 1 daughter and enough public turbulence to fuel tabloid coverage for decades beyond the divorce itself. Stand By Your Man, Divorce, and Till I Can Make It on My Own crossed country boundaries into mainstream pop culture and earned covers from artists across every genre. Jones's alcoholism, rumors of infidelity on both sides, and Tammy's rapid sequence of marriages and remarriages constructed an image the press never allowed to soften, and speculation that her personal life ran as dramatically off-stage as her songs suggested followed her through every decade she worked. Dolly Parton built something that no amount of gossip could reach, and the gossip tried consistently for 6 decades. Born January 19th, 1946, in Sevier County, Tennessee, the fourth of 12 children raised with very little money, she married Carl Dean in 1966, and that marriage has continued for nearly 60 years, while Dean remained almost entirely absent from public life, feeding curiosity about their arrangement that never went away. More than 40 top 10 country albums, over 100 charted singles, and songs like Jolene and I Will Always Love You placed her permanently among the greatest songwriters in American music history. The Dollywood Theme Park and the Imagination Library, a literacy program she created as a tribute to her father, extended her legacy far into philanthropy. Tabloids repeatedly tied her name to Kenny Rogers, Burt Reynolds, and her longtime bandleader, and her own public admission of a flirtatious personality gave those stories just enough air to keep circulating, though nothing was ever substantiated. Tanya Tucker arrived at 13 with Delta Dawn in 1972 and gave the press exactly what they wanted from a country bad girl for the next 50 years. Born October 10, 1958, in Seminole, Texas, she never married, and her romantic life received almost as much documentation as her musical catalog. Would You Lay With Me, Texas When I Die, and Two Sparrows in a Hurricane built her reputation as one of country music's most distinctive voices, but her stormy relationship with Glenn Campbell in the early 1980s generated the most sustained media attention of her career, with audiences following every development hoping it would lead to something permanent. A Playboy appearance in 1978 stirred the conservative country scene considerably, and rumors tying her to Merle Haggard, Don Johnson, Andy Gibb, and Elvis Presley accumulated steadily behind her unapologetic image. Her 2019 comeback album While I'm Livin', produced with Brandi Carlile and Shooter Jennings, finally delivered the Grammy Awards for Best Country Album and Best Country Song her decades of work had long deserved. These women built country music with their voices and their endurance, and the legends they created outlasted every rumor that ever followed them.